Fellow Antiguans, Barbudans, and residents, good evening. I am compelled to commence my address to you this evening by recalling to mind a segment of the preamble to the UPP's 2009 budget statement. Here is what we had to say. When in 2004 you, the citizens and residents of Antigua and Barbuda, closed the door on an era of amateurism, lip service, and partisanship, you also chose a forward path of unity, patriotism, and partnership. Unity because in March 2004, you united against a lack of transparency and a lack of accountability in government, and you united in favor of a new dispensation of sound economic management and a colorblind system of justice. Patriotism and partnership because the new administration was and still remains devoted to leading a national effort, each endeavoring, all achieving, to reclaim Antigua and Barbuda's golden age. The statement went on to say that the considered and measured policy responses of this UPP administration have inspired in Antiguans and Barbudans a sense of confidence in themselves and about the future, a belief that you have within yourselves the intelligence, the determination, and the requisite tools to negotiate the forward path which you had chosen for yourselves and for your children in March 2004. My fellow Antiguans, Barbudans, and residents, the budget statement went on to give us all the assurance that good health, a sound and relevant education, a thriving agricultural sector, effective social safety nets for the vulnerable, and user-friendly and effective public sector institutions have consistently remained priorities for the majority of our citizens and residents. We concluded that, having chosen that path in 2004, we in the UPP are heartened by the evidence which abounds that the citizens of this nation have been riding calmly and assuredly on a wave of social and economic expansion that could only have been achieved under a United Progressive Party administration. As Prime Minister of this spiritually and intellectually enriched nation, I trumpet the chorus that under the UPP government, Antigua and Barbuda is now securely and safely traveling on the express train to economic growth and stability with the assurance of peace and prosperity for all. Fellow Antiguans, Barbudans, and residents, it is against this background that I am delighted to address you this evening as the UPP administration takes the first step in summarizing for your benefit the unprecedented and unchallengeable successful record of progress which the country has made over the UPP's relatively short tenure of 10 years. We respect the fact that it is your right to know, even more than we consider it our pleasure to tell. You will recall when I delivered my New Year's address to you, I devoted a fair amount of time enlightening you on the government's uninterrupted program of activities which were focused on laying the foundation for sustainable development in our beloved country. The records show that these initiatives have borne an abundance of fruit, which have nourished and nurtured the lives, embellished the livelihood, and enhanced the quality of life of all our citizens. We are encouraged by this outstanding and remarkable outcome and are determined to continue to build upon these firm and unshakable foundations in the years ahead. The reality is that emerging from an environment of doom and gloom which had threatened the future of our twin island state, Antiguans and Barbudans now go about their daily chores with a spirit of confidence and a posture of assurance. It was an expectation which our people honestly believed would have been well nigh impossible to satisfy, given the atrocities which had been inflicted upon the nation by the Antigua Labour Party government during the period 1994 to 2003. Many of our young people who today have come of age can count their blessings that they were fortunate to have been spared the atrocities, the pain, and the agony of that unbelievable and unforgivable era. History demands of us an obligation to educate and enlighten them in gaining a well-informed understanding and appreciation of the perilous road through which their parents had been made to journey during this indelible blot in our nation's journey toward nationhood. I simply say to you, our young people, ask your parents, ask your grandparents, and ask your teachers. Young people will learn from our elders that today, thanks to the vision, wisdom, foresight, and forbearance of the United Progressive Party, Antiguans and Barbudans can once again lift their heads high and, with pride, with grace, and with dignity, reclaim their rightful place among the illustrious family of the world's most respected and responsible nations. They speak in forked tongues, those who seek to deny the people of Antigua and Barbuda the pride of place which they enjoy in having recovered from the calamity which faced the country in the period leading up to 2004, and having successfully emerged, brought about an enviable era of restoration and progress, the likes of which is perhaps unparalleled in the history of economies of small states, as is the case of Antigua and Barbuda. Just to look around you and witness the astronomical strides which have been made in education, in sports and in the arts, in science and technology, in the delivery of world-class health care services, in agriculture and food production, in road construction, and in the enhancement of the aesthetics of the environment. Look around and you see for yourselves the rapid recovery which has been made in the tourism sector, plagued as it had been all over the world with the ravages of the worst economic downturn in recent memory. Take pride in the empowerment of our young people, the advances made in providing better quality job opportunities through higher education, and the largest number of awards of scholarships ever granted by any government in the CARICOM region in such a short period of time. Take time to reflect for yourself on the magnanimous recovery of the economy, in the restoration of confidence in the commercial and industrial potential of the country that had been threatened by the indiscretions of the past and further spurred on by the same worldwide economic downturn. Look at the social transformation programs that now enable our elderly, our disabled, and our less fortunate to now enjoy higher standards of living, and do not fail to lift your heads again at the level of esteem in which the country is now held on the international landscape, shunned, cast aside, and blacklisted as we had been prior to 2004 by so many regional and international lending agencies and the world at large, all arising from the undemocratic way of life and callous rape of the nation's treasury by the former administration. And I can go on and on. But to those who dared to deny us as a people our right to be proud of what we have been able to achieve in our short 10 years of recovery and restoration, and almost miraculously and undeniably against all odds, I say to you, examine your conscience. And especially to our young people, I say to you, ask your parents. Suffice it to say that I have every confidence that we as a people would never allow a return to those treasonous times, and that, having emerged triumphantly out of the calamity that engulfed and beleveled us, we swear never to be coerced or lured to return to those treacherous and terrifying days. My dear people, by the grace of Almighty God, and blessed as we have been with 10 fruitful years of a patriotic UPP administration, the Recovery and Restoration Program, which we pledged to pursue in 2004, is now behind us, and Antigua and Barbuda is now eminently poised to move further forward into a new dimension, a dimension of sustainable economic stability and prosperity in a new era filled with unprecedented hope and glorious expectations. The foundation stones have been painstakingly, intelligently, and intellectually laid, maximizing the full potential of the rich endowment that has now become the enviable birthright of all Antiguans and Barbudans is now firmly within our grasp. Yes, my dear Antiguans and Barbudans, together we have fought the good fight. We have finished the daunting first leg, and we have kept the faith. An abiding and defiant faith when in 2004 we won your wholehearted support with our agenda for change. In 2005, when we laid the foundation for the fresh start. In 2006, when we geared ourselves up for growth. 2007, when we laid down the pillars of progress, and came 2008, when the world economic depression stood in our way. We relied upon our philosophy of sound policies, sure success. This period of worldwide economic disorder, as disastrous and destabilizing as it was, had the dual effect of reassuring the people of Antigua and Barbuda that your UPP government had, as if prophetically, always been on the right track. It put us in a position to reaffirm the word of the Bible, count it all joy. For it was only through the sacrifice and perseverance of all of our people that we succeeded in emerging from this world economic depression far less psychologically traumatized and even less socially dismembered than many a developed nation. Yes, my dear people, faith in our Creator and in ourselves when in 2008 we looked back at what we had achieved over the past or the first 5 years to find that over 130 of our pledges were honored. It was all that we needed to convince ourselves in approaching 2009 that we were on the right track and heading in the right direction. And as the global challenge of the economic depression intensified in 2010, we were determined that one of the most strategic ways to overcome this was to rally our people to withstand the social and economic fallouts of the ravages which were to confront us. This led to the call for the patriotic response, and you, our people, from all walks of life, did not let us or yourselves down. You rallied defiantly to the cause and confronted the global challenge with your boundless faith in your destiny. That was the premise upon which you returned us to office in 2009. Soon thereafter, in 2011, we unfolded our National Economic and Social Transformation Plan, the NEST Plan, which formed the basis of our disciplined approach to sustainable development. And as the Depression continued to wreak havoc in the developed nations all around us, we held our ground and we resolved to transform and became more determined to deliver. In 2013, buoyed by the successes of the NEST plan and encouraged that the worst stages of the world economic depression had begun to recede, we reinforced our efforts at securing growth and sustainability. And today, come 2014, having kept on the right track, we can come to you with pride and accomplishment that we are out of the dark and dismal clouds and have laid the foundation for what was always our original mission, solemnly pledged before you toward building a new economy for growth and prosperity for all. Lest you trend to the belief that I was just engaged in uttering florid ideologies and meandering among empty phrases, let me hasten to reassure you that the roadmap which I have just retraced represent the milestones which have triumphantly led us out of the dark ages into which we had been plunged by the ALP administration. They were the philosophical underpinnings which governed our budget statements year after year from 2004 to 2014. In other words, fellow Antiguans and Barbudans, we came to you with a vision and a plan. And methodically, clinically, and scientifically, we followed the plan. And today we are proud to lay before you the claim that we have delivered. Over 280 pledges and counting have been honored over the past 10 years, a record of performance in governance in Antigua and Barbuda unparalleled in the history of the country. Who dares question our well-deserved privilege to a third term in office? Let me help you answer the question by making reference to the following statement, and I quote, "It is difficult to avoid the conclusion that the country's current economic difficulties have been largely self-inflicted. As a small, open, and shock-prone island economy constrained by a narrow economic base and limited capacity, Antigua and Barbuda's economic progress has additionally been challenged by a problem of governance, particularly in the sphere of fiscal management. It is clear that the policy missteps of the past have left the country with a legacy of difficult economic challenges. Given the role which governance factors have played in constraining the performance of the economy, it is difficult to overestimate the importance of reforms in this critical area. We are encouraged by the current authorities' determination to break decisively with the past and by the strong legislative and other actions recently taken to improve transparency, accountability, and integrity across the board, including a code of conduct for ministers. The new administration in Antigua and Barbuda is making a strong and committed effort to confront the country's daunting economic challenges." End of quote. Fellow Antiguans, Barbudans, and residents, these are not the words of the UPP, nor are they opinions expressed by any of our followers, supporters, or those who empathize with our cause. This new scenario was defined in an assessment of Antigua and Barbuda by none other than two directors at an IMF Executive Board meeting held on November 15, 2004. This is how the IMF viewed us in 2004. Need I say more? Is this the state of affairs to which we wish to return in 2014? The answer is in your hands. Your United Progressive Party has delivered our country from the depths of disgrace and dishonor, way beyond our wildest expectations. And your deliverance frustrates the ALP to the bone. Let me hasten to warn, however, that we cannot afford to slip into a false sense of complacency. Indeed, a great deal has been accomplished, and we praise and thank God for his blessings. But we cannot and must not rest on our laurels. There is still a long way to go. There is still a great deal of work to be done, and all hands must be on deck. The advantage we have is that we have cleared all the impediments. Visibility is now at its highest level. We in Antigua and Barbuda can see clearly now. The dark clouds with which we had been engulfed by the ALP are now gone. We have removed all but one obstacle in our way. That obstacle is the ALP. For now, it is nothing but blue skies. Blue skies, blue skies ahead. As I come to the conclusion of this, my first in a series of addresses accounting to you for the UPP stewardship, I admonish you to heed these words. Beware, beware, beware. Beware as those who prior to 2004 came to steal, to kill, and to destroy, now seek to repetitiously repackage themselves in fine and dandy linen. They are nothing more than wolves in sheep's clothing. Beware of those who come bearing gifts deceptively lined with platinum, silver, and gold. I urge you to dig deeper and beyond the gilt-edged facade and expose them for who they really are. Men bereft of class and distinction, with nothing more than their cleverly concealed agenda, diabolically laced with lies, half-truths, and innuendos. Beware as they spend their billions, or should I say your billions, endeavoring to play with your minds and your emotions, guilty as they are of engaging in the worst forms of propaganda and squandermania, all in a frenzy, frantically and fraudulently in search of your priceless and precious votes. I urge you, do not allow yourselves to be intimidated. You are made of sterner stuff. When the time arrives and they come throwing their money at you, I invite you to simply ask yourself the question, does a leopard change its skin? Over the next few weeks, you will be hearing from our respective ministers of government who will provide you with an account of the stewardship of the ministry for which they had each been responsible. I urge you to embrace the opportunity to learn about the progress which we have all made as one people with one vision and one mission, to pave the way for achievement of the highest quality standard of living for all the people of Antigua and Barbuda. Let us continue to mobilize all our resources in moving our country further forward together, aspiring together, achieving together. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your time and attention. May God bless you all, and may Almighty God continue to bless this wonderful nation of Antigua and Barbuda.